Hi, I'm Angela Williams,
I'm Krista Marshall,
and I'm a survivor of child sexual abuse.
and I advocate for those that have experienced sexual abuse.
Welcome to Voice Up for the Voiceless. We're so glad that you've tuned in with us today. We're a podcast that addresses the issue of child sexual abuse and exploitation. It's a deep, dark issue, but we hope that we are shedding light and we are breaking the silence and that we are helping survivors to heal. And we are so grateful for our co-host, Krista Marshall.
Hey, I am here today. I am ready to roll. I'm excited. And I want you to tell me about your gorgeous sweater you have on.
Isn't it pretty?
It
makes me feel pretty. No, I usually shop at, thrift stores, TJ Maxx. I don't spend a whole lot of money on clothes. I try to find cute stuff.
Yeah.
But my husband took me shopping. We went to Santa Rosa last week for my birthday. And he was like, buy whatever you want. And I'm like, He's like, don't look at the price tag. So I brought this pretty sweater. I love it.
I love it.
It's
I love
really
it.
pretty.
So did you
It's
get
very
a lot
classic.
of articles or did you get just kind of like a few things?
I just got a few things,
Good.
even though he said that. It was like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, my husband knows
He
not
doesn't
to tell me
balance
that.
the checkbook, so he doesn't know how much money he has.
Gotcha.
No,
Yeah.
I got a cute little jumpsuit.
Yeah.
I got a cute dress, and then I got a really pretty linen top, and then I got this.
Okay.
So it wasn't too bad.
Good.
I didn't go
Good,
crazy.
Good. Yeah, that's so cute. Love it.
Thank
Love
you.
It, love it.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah.
So today's topic is one that we feel like is just not for survivors. It's
Yeah.
for everybody. And it really is about
For me,
balancing.
It's for me. It's for me too.
It's for you?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll just speak
Yeah,
into
let's
your
just
heart.
Go. Yes. So
No, it's something I have struggled with for years is to have balance in life. I have been a people pleaser most of my life. There was a turning point where now I can truly say I've been rescued from that. I've been
Yeah.
delivered.
Yeah.
That I really try to live my life for an audience of one and know that I can't please everybody. Know that I'm not everybody's cup of tea. Like I know that.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it's okay.
Yes, absolutely. So you're kind of going into like the balance of just like thoughts and mindsets even. Like there's so many different aspects of balance because there's so many different aspects of us as humans, So I
Yes.
mean you do have the holistic approach of it of just like life in general and how do you balance life? But then in order to balance life, you got to be able to balance the mental and then you got to be able to balance the spiritual. Like how would you say that you were able to like even holistically in our three parts that we are balance all three parts starting there maybe?
So I learned that life is about priorities. So that's where I started. In what to have a healthy life, what do my priorities need to be? And so I order my life, I order every decision, I order every move of my life based on these priorities.
Yeah.
Number one is God. Have I spent my time with God in the Word, in prayer? So have I given Him the first fruit of every day? Have I given Him the first consideration of every decision?
Yeah.
Have I gone to God? And have I given Him the first day of every week
Wow.
in fellowship?
Wow.
So that's kind of where I start. And it's not like I talk to God all day long. So
Yes.
it's not like I just give Him an hour, but just the first fruit,
Right.
really being still.
Right.
Because He says, be still and know that I am God. And I think, especially as women, we're running around with our heads cut off in 1,000 different directions. And there was a season where I not only didn't have balance in my life, but I didn't have balance in my head. Like it was all together on the outside, but on the inside, it was just like a mess. There was no balance in there. There was no peace in there. And I think we have to have balance in our life to have peace in our life.
Yeah.
So that was number one. So God is number one. Number two is my family. Have I served my family well? Have I met the needs of my family? And by all means, please do not think I have all this put together all the time. This is just my outline.
Yeah.
This is what I'm trying to do. This is what I work toward. This is my focus. So, because I do fail many times, but anyway, so God, then my family does my family need me? What are the needs of my family? Just like last week, we were supposed to tape and you had 2 sick babies. There was no way you had to prioritize your family.
But you actually set me free just to kind of cut you off really quick.
Okay.
In a nice way. But I felt that I was like, oh my gosh, my babies are sick and we're supposed to film today. And I just kind of started here. And like my priority and my mindset is kind of like work first, not, you know, obviously I know God, and then, you know, you do work, and then, you know, family comes where it comes. I'm in ministry. So I had it backwards. And you set me free even from that mindset of feeling like I have to show up, you know, to where actually, no, my babies do need me. I can be home. I can be there and make sure they're okay, because that's more priority than anything, you know? And I was so grateful because you were like, oh, it's fine. Babies first, family first. And I was like, really? You know, because especially in working in nonprofit and where you're working with trauma 24/7, it's sometimes hard to make sure that you're prioritizing your life over other people's emergencies. So you set me free from that too. So thank you for that.
Praise
I appreciate
God.
it.
Thank you.
Yep.
No, for 40 years, for the people in my professional life in real estate even, I've always told people family first, family before work. And I think so often people get that
get it
backwards.
wrong. Yes.
They put work before family.
Yes.
And then they wonder why they're distant from their family. And it's like, because you've always put something in front of me. So I've really tried hard. And my husband has modeled this beautifully. His whole working career, it was 9 to 5, and it got to the point where people knew not to call Phil Williams after 5 o'clock. Like, he was not going to answer. So you're wasting your time.
Wow. Yeah.
It was 9 to 5. He had strict boundaries around his work life. And every once in a while, you know, he'd have to travel, or there'd be anomalies to that. But for the most part, for the majority, he was very strict about, this is my work time. And then no weekends. Very rarely can I remember that man working on a weekend. It might be he had to travel out on a Sunday, but very, very rarely was he in his office or working, you know, on a weekend. So I think God, family, work, of course, we all have to support our lives, our family, our livelihood. And I think the fourth thing is friends, you know, to prioritize friends, and then hobbies. We all need a break. We all need to go have some fun. So, you know, whatever the hobby is, and sometimes hobbies can be very time consuming. You know, if you get into golf's like a full day on the golf course, or tennis lessons. So I think if you can kind of structure your life around that, I think you can find balance, because you'll know what your yes and no needs to be. You know, because you can't be all things to all people. You can't be in, you know, a dozen different places. You have to constantly think, okay, what is the priority here?
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Is that
That
good
makes
answer?
sense. Yeah, no, it completely makes sense, because again, like I'm saying,
itching. I'm sorry,
no,
guys.
it's fine.
My nose itches so bad.
Right, that's
my
a
granny used
priority.
to
You
say
gotta
somebody's
do it.
coming to see you if your nose is itching. I wonder who's coming to see me.
Right. But yeah, so like kind of what you're saying though is just, again, like that holistic approach of balance. And you started off with number one, God. Like one of the things that one of my mentors taught me is, as soon as you wake up in the morning, grab paper, grab your phone, grab something, and just sit silently. And I try my best to do that every morning, just to hear what God has for me, and I write it out. You know,
well, I think this thing has really thrown a lot of people off balance, though. You know, being on social media, getting into the comparison rat race. Well, their family looks better than my family on Easter Sunday. They're all dressed up. They got that beautiful family portrait. And, you know, you start comparing yourself, and I think that throws you off balance. That's a lot of wasted energy, you know?
Yeah, I mean, distractions as a whole is going to throw you off. Even like kind of with what I was saying in the morning, like I have to stay so diligent to just make sure if I'm on my phone, I'm on my notes to hear what God says. I can't go on YouTube, or I can't look at my text messages. I got to do.
It takes you down a rabbit hole.
It sure will.
If I click on that Instagram, it's like, I need to go buy this, and I need to go buy this. It's like, it takes you down.
Do you know how many useless things I've bought just because it was on, it popped up on my thing? Yeah, no, I'm not doing it anymore. Instagram, I'm not.
Well, I was on a retreat last weekend, and we couldn't have our phones, and it was so freeing.
Wow.
It was so freeing to the point where Monday, I didn't really want to look at my phone because I was freed from it. You know, that little addiction. And it is addiction.
It's an addiction. It's an addiction.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So balance is hard for women especially. I know men have to balance a lot in their life. But for women, we have so much on us. You know, we got to take care of the house. We got to buy the groceries. We got to wash the laundry. We got to, not that our husbands don't help, or if you're single, then you don't have any help. So it's just a lot of balancing all these chores and all this stuff. And I just want to encourage you, when it comes to decisions in your life, or your yes or your no, it's okay to say no. It's okay if you're at capacity. And when you come to those decisions of should I do this or should I not, look at your capacity. Look at how full your plate is without automatically saying yes and then struggling. And then ask God, is this what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yes. Yeah.
Is this something that is in my purpose and my mission? Does this align with God's plan for me?
Absolutely. And even as you're saying that, like, I'm thinking about, sometimes you can't hear it because you're so exhausted. What do you do? How do you, Angela? And I ask you this in your beautiful, amazing, awesome time that you've been here on this earth of 60 years, right?
Yeah,
like
60.
How did you learn and find time to rest in every hat that you wore? Like, how did you do that?
Still trying to figure that out, Krista. But I say I failed miserably.
Yeah.
I have failed miserably for most of my life. But for this season in my life, allowing myself permission to rest, permission to go. I have a lot of plates spinning. But to know that some plates are going to fall, and that's okay. I need rest. I have to they say you have, in a plane, when the plane's going down, you got to put the oxygen mask on yourself before you even put it on your child. How hard of a decision is that, But to learn how to put the oxygen mask on yourself, to give yourself permission to rest, even permission to spend time with God. There's no task more important. And I have to keep reminding myself, yes, there's a million things that need to be done. But this thing first.
Yeah, absolutely.
This thing first.
That makes sense.
And to not compare myself to other people. Like, I don't have to accomplish as much as you accomplish, because maybe that's not my plan, my purpose. I think comparison is the thief of joy. We're constantly comparing. So I think just giving ourselves permission, and to know that if you don't have balance in your life, you don't have peace. If you don't have peace, you don't have joy. You don't have joy, you don't have life abundantly.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was good. Let me
write that down.
I can repeat that. But
hey, we have it on recording.
That was straight from God. That wasn't from me. That was God speaking through me.
Right. So, okay, I have another question, and it kind of has to do with rest a little bit. So, me and my husband go back and forth on this, and I have a problem, I think, or he has a problem. We don't know. Okay. But I think about, you work to rest, and he rests then to work.
Okay. Because he has to recharge his batteries.
He has to recharge. And I, like, for instance, if we're home and we have a day off, I'm like, okay, let me clean, fix this, put this in order, everything that has to be done, so then I can rest. And he's like, well, let me just rest first, and then we'll get to that. Like, what do you do? Like, how do you balance that?
Well, how often do you clean and it's to be done again?
Yeah.
I think as women, we have to give ourselves permission to let the dust pile up a little bit. Like, we are in such perfection mode. So I kind of tend to, and it's really not my nature to even agree with your husband, but I'm kind of liking what he's saying. To put the rest first. Yeah. Because then if you don't, you may run out of time and not get the rest.
Yes. And that's what happens every single time. But yet my mind is so set on, okay, well, let me put this in order and get this, because I'm trying to, again, balance so much that I feel like, and it comes into a control thing where I'm like, at least I can't balance all of this stuff. I have everything doing well, but at least I can control this house and make sure everything is in order. And then I realize, I'm like, this is control. Because I feel out of control in other areas. So,
well, you feel like you'll be judged too. If your friend drops in and there's dirty dishes in the sink, or the laundry's piled up. Yes. I say, if you come to see me, come to see me. If you come to see my house, make an appointment.
Noted. Got it.
So I think, and of course we want to clean home. And of course we want the laundry done. And of course we want all that done.
Yeah.
But if you're tired, it's okay for it to sit in the sink overnight. That's one thing my old age has given me, is permission to be okay with everything not being perfect. It's okay. It is.
Okay. Noted.
It's not going to be the end of the earth. No one's going to die. It's not life or death.
Yes.
So hopefully that speaks to somebody out there, because I am one that for many, many years tried to control everything in my life, and the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My daughter is like a little compulsive about, cleaning and keeping her house kind of perfect. And I think that's part of her therapy. She deals in such a stressful job. She's a doctor and a lot of life or death situations. She literally is in life or death.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
I think even her cleaning is her rest, because she can control and she can get that clean and she can put that to bed. So I think psychologically that's part of her kind of rest, even though she's still working and still on her feet.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Yeah.
So I think women, it's nice now to be in this season to maybe I can speak into young mothers and young women out there is perfection is the lowest standard. It's about the present moment that you're in and what you need in that present moment and what your family needs in that present moment. And your husband may need you to go sit beside him and just rest. And knowing that you're sitting down and that you're not flying around the house trying to get things done, I'm sure it's not real restful for him because he's sitting there feeling a little guilty. I should be up helping her instead of resting, right?
Yeah, he tells me that.
Yeah,
he's
so
like, hey, come sit. Maybe I should listen.
You should listen. You should listen.
Yeah.
Because those days are sitting. We never know what's going to happen tomorrow.
That's true.
We never know if that might be your last day to sit with him. We don't know. We don't know. And I try to just slow down and think, you know what? It can wait. Just like Monday when I came back to my massive piles of stuff. And I just thought, I'm going to just do what's on fire. Yeah. And I'm going to go to Home Depot and get some plants. And I'm going to do what I love to do and play in the dirt a little bit. And I had no more time to play in the dirt, but I made time. And I let some other things just kind of lay.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it is. It is. Okay, thank you. I feel like I went to therapy today. I'm so grateful. I needed that, just to kind of be, again, set
I
free
felt
from
like
some of
this
that.
subject especially, I know I kind of threw the topic at you, but I feel like balance, for people who've gone through trauma especially, we get into that people pleasing, we get into your value maybe wrapped up in your career or being busy or being on every committee or trying to prove something. Yeah. I just want you to hear me. You have nothing to prove. You are loved. You are valued. You are the king or the son or the daughter of the Most High King. Yeah. You have nothing to prove. Right. So all of that busyness, all of that wearing yourself out, it's a path to no end.
That's so true. Yeah. And one of the things that I had to come to an understanding of, especially working with people that are going through trauma every single day, is that I'm not the savior. So I can do everything that I can do, but I'm not their savior. So if I miss a phone call or if I miss a text message because I might be at my daughter's volleyball game, there's a point where I have to allow God in. There's a point where I have to introduce them to God to where they can understand that he's going to be the one to do it all. I can give them the direction, but I can't be everywhere. And when I set myself free from that, I felt like even our organization just expanded even more because I wasn't trying to hold everything in my own hands and do this and do this and do this. And he was able to breathe, and then people were able to do more.
Well, I think, and I'll be the first to admit this, I think we think nobody can do it like we can do it.
Oh, yeah.
Or nobody can do it right.
They don't know. I got to be there. I got to help.
And I want it done a specific way. So I have my way or the highway. And I am so guilty of this in my little type A personality. But when you learn to delegate, then that releases someone else to walk in their mission and their strength and their talents and their gifts. So delegating is real important to provide balance, And I tell my daughter all the time, I'm like, she has such a busy life. I'm like, even if you have to pay a little bit of money, just farm that out. Just delegate that. You don't need to be in the shower washing your dogs. Go get a groomer. You don't, maybe some days you don't need to cook all the meals. Maybe order out. Just do things that what you can delegate. Do what only you can do. Only you can sit at the feet of Jesus. Only do what you can do and try to delegate other things out.
Yeah.
And there are people that want to help. There are people that want to do.
Yeah. That's so true. I think that you, again, telling you, Angela, you're amazing. But I feel like that honestly, it was a cultural difference too. I mean, coming up from me being, a minority, like you can, I got it. That's what was taught to me all the time. Just like, oh, you don't need anybody to clean your house. You can do that. Or why would you get somebody to do that? You can do that. You can do that. You can do that. And then I'm doing that with 4 kids, ministry, and all of this stuff that's going on in an organization, and I am just ragged.
I minister to so many people, but did I speak into you that you needed to get
yes,
some help?
I did, and I did. You told me, you were like, Angela, go get a house cleaner. Get somebody to, or Krista, clean your house. Get somebody to clean your house. You don't have to do it. And I said, oh, I don't? And it was just, I know that might sound dumb, but it was so freeing. Like, oh, I can do this. Like, I don't have to clean all these rooms and do all this stuff. Like, and then we'll get people to, get food and all this stuff. And I have more time with what matters, my babies and my husband and my family and going to support my daughter. And, I have time to do that stuff now. So yes, you don't know, you have been a pivotal moment in person and everything. You. So I'm grateful, but
I really want to talk a little bit about survivors. Cause I think if you're in that place of, you haven't felt safe. You're dealing with triggers, like your emotions are off balance. You may be dealing with, like we talked about, the unworthy feelings, and you're also kind of hypervigilant. Like if it's the fight or flight. You're stuck in overdrive
all the time.
And so I just want to, breathing is so important to even find balance emotionally. So I just want to encourage you just to stop and just take a breath, just to stop and pray, just to stop and be still, like be still and know that I'm God. Like in my healing season, I sometimes would have to pull over. Like when I was so anxious and so in hypervigilance and hyperdrive, and I would just pull the car over and just try to breathe, just try to just reground yourself, because memories and flashbacks and triggers, it can put you in a tailspin emotionally.
Absolutely.
And how can you make good decisions in that state? How can you know what needs to be yes and what needs to be no in that state? So I just really wanted to touch on that and to say it's okay. Yeah. And I promise you it's just a season. Yep. Like this is not going to be forever. Yep. It's a season. But you do have to acknowledge that I'm hurting, and this might not be the time to take on another task or another project or another committee role or, head of the PTA or the class president or whatever that you're what was it classroom parent or whatever homeroom parent or I remember those roles. It was like me I'll be homeroom parent. Meanwhile I'm struggling to keep it together. So it's okay to say no sometimes when you're in that season of healing because really your focus needs to be on you.
Yeah, and maybe even just to say no to more than what you normally would. Yes. And the reason why you do that is to give yourself space for if there is a day that you need a little bit more encouragement or a day that you are feeling down, that you can then at that moment have the time and you're not pressed to heal really fast. Let me walk through this really fast so I can go to this PTA meeting that nobody cares about, like give yourself extra time. Like one of my friends told me this, she was like, plan for 80% of your day.
Wow.
80% of your day and leave room for 20% for whatever to come. And that helped me again so much, just 80%. And I don't have to do, and whatever that works for you, but like leave room for whatever may be to come.
You make a profound point is we have to leave margin in our day.
Yes.
Margin for if you're healing, to give yourself plenty of time. Yes. And sometimes when we're sitting at the feet of Jesus and we're in our devotion or in our time with the Lord, it's often so brief. We allow 15 minutes for our devotion, check. Yep. When maybe you just need to sit before the Lord and bask in his presence and feel his love and feel his peace and let the wounds begin to heal because healing takes time.
It does. Yes.
Healing needs to be intentional and it needs to take time. Yep. And so to have balance in your life, it might be that you have to take other things off your plate.
Yep. That's true.
And let people know. Don't try to heal in isolation. We talked our last we finished a series recently with the lies that survivors believe. And, the lies that they believe keeps them in a tailspin sometimes, and not understanding that your value is not in what you do, it's who you are. When we so wrap up our identity and our accomplishments or our career or being the best mom or being the best wife, but really our identity should be wrapped up in him, and he can give you the balance. Right. I love this scripture. I was trying to get my glasses on and off to read it, but in John 10:10, we all know that the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, but Jesus says after that, I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. And that's his desire, that you have an abundant, joyful life, and you can't do that when you're out of sync. No. And I love this too. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. And that comes from Matthew 11:28-30.
Yeah.
And we see Jesus modeled this. He had crowds. He had people tugging at his robe. He had places he had to preach. He had healing he had to do. But what do we see he models? He went away. He withdrew. He went to a quiet place.
Even in the midst of all of it. Yes. Yeah.
He rested. So that's a great model to see that even Jesus. And I have a friend of mine that calls me Little Jesus all the time. Deborah, she calls me Little Jesus. She goes, you can't be Little Jesus all the time. Yeah. And I think she sees me wearing myself out because the work is hard. It's hard work. And many survivors need someone to walk alongside them. And there are not enough people in those places of mentorship.
Yeah. Yep. Sounds good.
So.
Oh, well, I think that regarding balance, we kind of went through a few things that are super important.
We unpacked some things.
We definitely did. I think that the rest was so important. The holistically, what does that look like, was so important for us to make sure that we have everything in alignment. But we can't do that without God first. So again, I think that we kind of went through all of that. And so
start the day with God, not on your phone. Yes. I think that's a good one.
Yep. Absolutely.
Name what's draining you. I think this is real important. Ooh, if something is wearing you out, name it, and maybe you need to take that off the list. Or maybe you need to give it to God. Yeah. Sometimes it's relationships that's draining us and getting us off balance.
Name what's draining you. Yes.
Whatever it is that's draining you. Create margin. You said that in your calendar. I loved what you said. Plan 80% of your day.
80%.
I've gotten where as I get older, I try to leave an hour between meetings. That way, if I'm running behind, running late, that person's running late, because when you schedule yourself back to back to back, then that gets you anxious.
Absolutely.
And that throws your balance off your day.
You can't be as present as you want to. Yep.
And I try to allow a day, and I know we need the Sabbath. We absolutely need the Sabbath day of rest. But I try to plan a catch-up day in my week. I try to plan a day that I just set aside all the phone calls I didn't return, the emails I didn't return, the thank you notes I didn't write, and just spend that day kind of getting caught up. And that starts my week kind of like, whew, okay.
I am putting that on my calendar. Thank you for that. Yes, okay. I'm going to start doing it. I think that's great. Yeah.
And if you can't do a whole day, just do a couple hours and mark it on your calendar. And I just call it catch-up time. It's just catch-up time.
Yeah, that's great.
And that's hard to do too. Yeah. Practice saying no. Woo! That's a big one.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that again, no, it's okay. That's a full sentence, that's all that you have to say sometimes. But how do you know when to say no? That's one of those other things as well. But like you said, how are you feeling? What do you need? We have to be in tune with ourselves. We have to know what's our soul health look like? What does our mindset look like sometimes before we even say no to people, because you don't know. It's
I know
easy
this
to
becomes real cliche, but I do say, if I don't get my yes right away, if I know I'm not supposed to do that, but yet I'm not sure, I'll just say I need to pray about it. I really need to pray about that and take it before the Lord and say, okay, here's what's on my plate. Can I add? And sometimes God will give you a bigger plate. Like if he calls you to do it, he'll provide.
He will. Yes.
So
it's okay not to have the quick answer. Yeah. Is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Because I think even when we pray, we get a yes, we get a no, and we get a wait. So sometimes you just might need to wait. You can say, not right now. I'll think about that in the future, but I don't have the capacity to do that right now.
Right.
And I think people are mature enough to receive that without
absolutely
getting angry. I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to be all things to all people, and we don't have to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
true. Yep.
So, we've unpacked a lot today. If you have enjoyed our show on balance and peace, please share it for somebody that you know that might be out of balance today or might be struggling. And especially if you're a survivor, just know that we're praying for you. And it is our heart's desire that you would find healing and peace and joy and know that you are valued and that you are loved.
Yes, absolutely. And again, thank you, Angela, so much for sharing your wisdom. I think that it's helped all of us. And then I know that there's still so much more, So yes. And then like I hear people say sometimes, there's no such thing as balance. There's ebbs and flows, and I think I agree with that sometimes, that some days there will feel that you're off balance, but then some days it's okay to get back on track. Like you were saying, to schedule that one day or go to a therapy session or do whatever you can to feel that sense of security and
sense
mindset
of peace.
And peace.
You want to walk in peace.
Absolutely.
I think I spent a lot of my life just carry.
Yeah.
And now I seek peace, above all.
Above
peace.
all things,
and then peace produces joy.
Yeah,
and so
there you go.
all the fruits of the Spirit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So again, we're so grateful for you tuning in. We thank Mesmerized Media for making this possible. We thank you for listening. Please share, comment, subscribe, and know that we're praying for you. And we ask that you pray for us.
Please.
So I'm Angela Williams.
And I'm Krista Marshall.
Thanks for tuning in to Voice Up for the Voiceless. Bye.
Bye.